welcome. You're watching The Big Question with me, Tamanna Inamdar. If there was any doubt about the enduring dominance of the BJP politically, the people of Delhi have put an end to it. The results of the Delhi Assembly elections for 70 seats is astounding for several reasons. First, the obvious. It's a comeback for the BJP after 27 years, a win for the BJP despite no clear chief ministerial candidate versus Arvind Kejriwal, and the Aam Aadmi Party being rejected so profoundly that Arvind Kejriwal lost his own seat. Now, while political experts will interpret the results and the focus will now shift possibly to who will be the next chief minister of Delhi, it's important to look at one more aspect. Delhi, the national capital, has been suffering with worsening air quality each passing year, garbage piling up everywhere, and quality of life in general deteriorating. The Delhi vote is not just one for political stability, and yes, it possibly is echoing the double engine ki sarkar hope, but it's also a plea for change. BJP has not only stormed to power in Delhi with a win of 48 out of 70 seats, but they have now been given the task to fix the national capital, which is why you saw the Aam Aadmi Party reducing to 22 seats. This is in stark comparison to the 2020 result, which saw Aam Aadmi Party's victory with 62 seats and the BJP with just 8.
दिल्ली के लोगों का ये प्यार, ये विश्वास हम सभी पर एक कर्ज है। इसे अब दिल्ली की डबल इंजन सरकार, दिल्ली का डबल तेजी से विकास करके चुकाएगी।
नमस्कार। आज दिल्ली के चुनाव के नतीजे आए हैं और जनता का जो भी निर्णय है, जनता का जो भी फैसला है, उसे हम पूरी विनम्रता के साथ स्वीकार करते हैं। जनता का निर्णय सर माथे पर। मैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी को इस जीत के लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं और मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि जिस उम्मीद के साथ और जिस आशा के साथ लोगों ने उनको बहुमत दिया है, वो उन सभी उम्मीदों और आशाओं पे पूरा उतरेंगे। हमने पिछले 10 साल में जनता ने जो मौका दिया हमें, उन 10 सालों में हमने बहुत सारे काम किए। शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में, स्वास्थ्य के क्षेत्र में, पानी के क्षेत्र में, बिजली के क्षेत्र में और भी अलग अलग तरीके से लोगों को राहत पहुंचाने की कोशिश की उनकी ज़िंदगी में।
Now, in an effort to counter Aam Aadmi Party's campaigns, the BJP has pulled out all stops to woo voters by also announcing a host of freebies ranging from free scooters for the youth to financial assistance for the marriage of daughters from poor families, among other things. They've also promised to continue all schemes that were initiated by the Aam Aadmi Party, including that of free water and electricity. The BJP in their manifesto has also promised a cleaner and more developed Delhi. But can the state's finances now sustain the promises made? And can Delhi follow the path that the voters have hoped for? Of course, a big question for the Aam Aadmi Party is where do they go from here? Punjab is the full state that they now have. Will they now continue their dominance there? But the biggest question really is, will Delhi finally get what it deserves? To speak on this, I'm joined today by Aarti R. Jairat, senior political commentator, Amitabh Tiwari, political strategist, with us on the show. I'm speaking with Sandeep Shastri, national coordinator, Lokniti Network, and Yashwant Deshmukh, director and founding editor, See Voter. Welcome to all of you. Aarti, let me come to you first, because we had a conversation before the elections, and I suppose there was the exit polls at least talked about the BJP being strong. Everyone must have had their guesstimate. Would it be safe to say that this kind of a result was not anticipated?
Well, so let's say before the exit polls, yes, I think there was still this expectation that Aam Aadmi Party would hold on to its core voters, which is, the poor, really, the poor and the minorities. But the indication that people wanted a change was there, because I've been covering Delhi elections for many, many years, and this was the first time in many years that I heard people actually mention the BJP as an alternative. Through Sheila Dikshit's time, it was always the Congress. And then when AAP exploded on the scene, then it was only AAP. That's all one heard. But this time, one actually heard people mention the BJP. So obviously, the BJP was emerging as an alternative for people who were quite disenchanted and disillusioned with what had happened to Delhi, particularly in the last 3 years, as the AAP engine started spluttering and its leaders went behind bars, and all these allegations started about corruption, Sheesh Mahal, liquor scam, and so on and so forth. So, and then of course the exit polls, I must say this time, got it right, because they got the numbers almost spot on. So yes, and it's a huge victory for the BJP. And now AAP will have to go back to the drawing board and see whether it can survive this blow, because it's a very new party and it does not have a dedicated cadre or a loyal support base. So whether it can actually recoup from this loss or not, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so that's the political side of it, or whether Aam Aadmi Party will recoup from its loss. What next for the BJP in Delhi? And Yashwant, what is the one clear message in your view coming out of this election?
Actually, there is not one. I mean, when you look into the overarching thing that, okay, there is a meticulous planning and the way BJP learns from its mistakes, that's the election management and the political management side. But what I feel that, the freebies and Labhati Yojnas, they are all said and done. But at the end of the day, India is also witnessing a new caste group, which is called middle class. It is emerging itself as a new group which thinks alike, regardless of caste or religious divisions in the society. And particularly in the urban areas, they do have some expectations from the civic life, because middle class has been asking for a really long time that we are the taxpayers. We are not really anti-poor. We are fine with the fact that government is giving and doing something for the poor. But at the end of the day, if we are being taxed, at least keep the inflation low. And if we are being taxed, at least give us a better place to live in. I mean, not a city where I cannot breathe the air is not breathable, the water is not potable,
Yashwant,
the roads are not drivable. That's the minimum expectation.
Yashwant, you think this is a vote for living conditions? Is it a vote for some of those issues that we talk about in drawing rooms, but we're never sure it makes it to the political hustings?
Yes. Tamanna, we did in our post-poll survey actually ask the people who voted for Aam Aadmi Party why exactly they vote for Aam Aadmi Party even this time, and those who voted against Aam Aadmi Party, both the reasons. While on the for side, those who voted for Aam Aadmi Party, you would be surprised to know that lesser number of people voted for free bijli and free pani. More number of people said the mohalla clinic and the schools than the free bijli pani. See, even the bottom of the pyramid does understand that beyond the freebies, there is an essence of governance over there. While on the other side, those who are really, really upset with the Aam Aadmi Party, I mean, keep aside that disillusioned part of the middle class which said that, it is no more the same party which was a anti-corruption crusader and all that, and move aside the central budget and Nirmala Sitharaman and what Mr. Modi did. But the bigger number of the people who complained about the bad quality of water that is coming to the tap, the garbage piles that are everywhere littered, the civic infrastructure crumbling down, people fondly remember Sheila Dikshit ji for a reason. That in under her 15 years of rule, Delhi did become a world-class city. And that tap in the last 10 years came crumbling down. At what cost? So while Arvind Kejriwal's preference or the priority of bottom of the pyramid was well appreciated by the votes over there, but a large part of Delhi was not appreciating that it is coming at the cost of the quality of life. Delhi has literally become unlivable. So I think these are the things which has propelled BJP to power. But then BJP has to actually provide solution. I'm telling this upfront. If the
Let's
BJP
come.
is unable to find
Wait. Let's
coalition,
wait.
they will be at receiving end.
We'll come to the solution bit. We'll come to the solution bit because then that's the crux of it, right? After such an astounding victory, you have one party at all levels. You have one party at completely all levels, and they can really fix things. They now have all levels of power. Sandeep Shastri, do you agree that this was a vote against the living conditions of Delhi and not as much as Sheesh Mahal, corruption, etc.?
Tamanna, we constantly make this point that when an election result comes out, somebody loses the election. And because somebody loses the election, very often somebody wins the election. And for me, this Delhi verdict is a conclusive verdict of not accepting or not responding to what a party had promised to do for 10 years. I think that was clearly this verdict. It was a verdict after 10 years of AAP being in power that there seemed to be some credibility deficit, both in terms of your promise and in terms of the leadership. And the benefit of this credibility deficit went in favor of the BJP because it was the main opposition at this point of time. So I think I would view this victory as a very clear statement of the voter that they were looking for the fulfillment of promises. And as Yashwant rightly said, it's not just about your economic safety net. I prefer not to use the word freebie. It's not just about the economic safety net. It is much more about certain fundamentals with regard to the quality of life, about cleanliness, about drinking water, about pollution. These were issues. It was about Yamuna River. And that's why the Prime Minister made this the second statement in his victory speech. So there were clear issues on which people had a high degree of dissatisfaction. And that dissatisfaction was expressed in terms of the verdict that you see.
Yeah.
But let's also remember the Aam Aadmi Party managed to hold on to 1/3 of the seats. And that is because certain segments of the society, the poorer segments of the society, segments of it may have gone towards the BJP, but a large segment remained with the Aam Aadmi Party. What went away from the Aam Aadmi Party, I think, was the middle class, which Yashwant made reference to. The middle class, which had certain aspirations, and those aspirations were not, it does not seem to have been met in the last
Okay, so
10
this
years.
is an interesting angle. This is an interesting aspect. Was there a class divide in the vote that we saw as well? Amitabh Tiwari, come in on this. We're talking about whether this was a vote for a better Delhi. And then will Delhi finally get what it deserves?
Well, see, essentially, if you see the CSDS post-poll data itself, the lead of the Aam Aadmi Party amongst the poor has also reduced. It used to be 28% in 2020. This has reduced to just 8%, which means that the issues of cleanliness, which was being highlighted by Yashwantji and Sandeep sir, even amongst the core vote bloc, the Aam Aadmi Party, though is ahead of the BJP or was ahead of the BJP, it lost support because of basic civic issues. Then amongst the middle class also, it used to have a lead of 14%. That has swung towards the BJP. The BJP now has a lead of 3% as per CSTS. And amongst the rich, where the BJP was leading by just 1%, and amongst the rich is key here because air pollution, Yamuna cleaning, etc., all these issues normally would appeal to these kind of voters. The lead has grown from just 1% to 31%. So this is the class divide. But if you see the issues, people were very clear about the issues. And if I extrapolate the data of CSDS, on points like unemployment and price rise, the voters have blamed the BJP. A higher number of people have supported Aam Aadmi Party, for whom unemployment and price rise were the basic issues. But for people whom corruption and lack of development were the key issues, there is a significant lead in favor of the BJP. And in fact, corruption perhaps is adding to a lead of 4% vote share to the BJP, likely to appeal more towards the middle class, and also the relative non-performance of the Aam Aadmi Party in Kejriwal's second term is also contributing almost 3% vote share lead to the BJP. So there's a clear issue divide also in terms of issues. People who are blaming or people who are citing unemployment and price rise clearly see it is the failure of the central government, and corruption and lack of development as failures of the state government, which is the Aam Aadmi Party.
Okay, so on balance, the voter has made her choice clear. And Aarti, Jairat, I want to come to you because this was a conversation we were having before the election. This was a question I asked you as someone who's from the city, that why is air pollution, for example, not a bigger issue? And you talked about other problems such as garbage, etc., piling up. Is this now a real chance you think that the people of Delhi have for some solutions over here? Because now there is no excuse left, right? Whether it's at the municipal level or it's at the central level or at any level.
Well, technically the municipality is still in the hands of Aam Aadmi Party, but of course by a bare majority. So technically we still have two different parties, sort of in this three-layered structure of governance that we have in Delhi. We have two parties, in power. So we'll have to see what happens in the municipal corporation. Remember, one of the reasons why Aam Aadmi Party won the municipal elections 2 years ago was because the BJP had headed the municipal corporation for 15 years. And the municipal corporation, which actually handles all these civic problems like garbage and, sort of state of the roads and water and so on, the municipal corporation had done absolutely nothing. I mean, Delhi was still looking quite shabby, although it's become even shabbier now, but it was still looking quite shabby. I just want to say one thing, that when Aam Aadmi Party rose, it rose on the back of support from the middle class. Delhi, at the end of the day, is a middle class city, and I use the term loosely because whether you are earning 10 to 20,000 rupees a month, or you're earning 1 lakh a month, or you're, in the upper bracket and earning much more than that, the aspirations of being in the middle class, I think, cuts across the economic barriers. Everybody wants a better life. Everybody wants better education for their children. Everybody wants better healthcare. Everybody wants roads that they can zip on. They want bigger cars, better mobiles, Those middle-class aspirations, I think, really cut across all classes. And when Aam Aadmi Party came up, they promised two things. One, of course, was a corruption-free government. The other was to return power to the people. So decisions would not be taken from top down, but they would actually create mohalla committees, consult people before they took big decisions. So, decision-making would be down up, from the ground up. Unfortunately, all that collapsed. And, essentially, Aam Aadmi Party started losing the middle classes from even in its first term, because it started being perceived as a party that caters only to the poor, that only, gives out freebies, just looks at the slum areas, does not really bother about us. Because, the facilities that we are used to as middle class voters, they were fast getting shabby. And of course, the last 3 years, those facilities and amenities have just completely collapsed. Delhi is driven by middle class sentiment. And if middle class sentiment turns against a party, I think that party is in trouble. That's what happened with AAP. Middle class sentiment very clearly turned against them. Today, now that the BJP is in power, middle class expectations are very, very high. And the middle class, it knows how to help a party win. It also knows how to help a party lose. So if middle class expectations and aspirations are not met in the next 5 years, I can tell you the BJP will be in for a drubbing next time around, because the middle class, when it punishes very harsh.
It's the season of the middle class, I must say. After a very long time, Yashwant Deshmukh in the budget, the middle class is front and center. Maybe some impact of that in Delhi as well. One doesn't know, it was being speculated. The middle class as a vote bank is something quite unheard. Are we seeing that turning point here with the example of Delhi? With, of course, the understanding that Delhi is quite different and unique from any other electoral battlefield.
Unique, but this phenomena of middle class is pretty much across India that is emerging. You know, there is some misconception when we talk about electoral politics, Tamanna. Somehow people, I don't know why they misunderstand middle class with an upper caste Hindu or upper education group or an urban group of people, you know, which is completely wrong. You know, when, I mean, 30 years back when Dr. Manmohan Singh and PV Narasimha Rao opened the economy, this country had hardly about 3 to 3.5% of middle class. Now we are staring at 35 to 40% of middle class. And by the way, in India, the rural middle class is now bigger than the urban middle class. So a middle class Brahmin voter or middle class Dalit voter or middle class Muslim voter, the middle class itself is a big caste group where the middle class values, they drive. What Aarti was telling just now, the aspirational class, what does that mean? It does not really mean that they have a higher purchasing power and they will just go about buying anything when the budget is nice to them. No, they are aspirational because this class actually works really hard, pays taxes and saves money and invest that money into education, number one, into healthcare, number two, in a better living quality and for the things which make their life of their children better in future. So these values, what we many a times actually make or poke fun at our own middle class values, you know, including an all-time thing of how to squeeze the toothpaste to the last drop from a thing. But that's who we are, you know, we are middle class. And that middle class value is what cuts across the caste and religion line. And that is something which the political class of this country is not yet prepared for. They are still so, you know, log jammed in the idea that a Dalit is a Dalit, a Brahmin is a Brahmin, a Thakur is a Thakur, a Muslim is a Muslim, that they live in denial sometimes that there is a middle class across more or less. The volume could be less or more, but it's across all the caste and religious lines, and we are going beyond.
But this toothpaste squeezing middle class has never hoped to have their voice heard. Is that, Amitabh Tiwari, I want you to come in on this. It's an interesting aspect of this conversation. Okay, Aarti Jairat wants to come in. Yes. I can't hear you, Aarti. I think you're on mute. No, there's an audio issue. We'll just try to fix it and come right back to you. Yes, Amitabh, on this point of the middle class, is this election also the arrival of the middle class voter as a recognizable cohort of voters?
See, essentially, over the years in Delhi, the middle class has been playing a role in the election of the governments. Even the Aam Aadmi Party, though it was getting significant support from the poor and lower socioeconomic class, they were providing it a base vote share. But it was the middle class who was switching from the BJP to the Aam Aadmi Party in Vidhan Sabha elections, perhaps lured by its anti-corruption plank, its public participation online or a transparent funding, etc., etc. That is the middle class which has stayed back with the BJP largely in this election. And why it has happened? See, voters have become transactional. What BJP has done smartly this time is that while continuing or while promising that the poor and the lower socioeconomic class will receive benefits as they are receiving under the AAP government with the continuation of the schemes, the budget announcement of this tax break, because that is helping almost everybody. I mean, 90% of the populace of India earns less than or shows an income of less than 12 lakh when they file returns. So that was a tangible benefit also given to the middle class to manage their discontent because they were reeling under high inflation, high taxes, etc. So this was smartly done. See, the middle class voters have shifted towards the Aam Aadmi Party, largely due to corruption and this tax break. But what is missed in this entire discussion or entire analysis of the Aam Aadmi Party losing is that the gap is only 3.5.
Yeah.
And the strategic blunder which the Aam Aadmi Party has done is that they have not transferred any single installment of the Mahila Samman Yojana to the women beneficiaries. If they would have transferred 1 to 2 installments, they had already allocated for this amount in the budget of last year. If they would have done or transferred even 1 to 2 installments, the results would have been starkly different.
Wow. At the end of this, a couple of questions that we're asking. Will Delhi finally get what Delhi deserves? We hope so. It's about time. Will the middle class voter now, going forward, become an important segment that all political parties have to cater to? Well, it's about time if that happens. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on the show today. That's all the time we have on this episode of The Big Question, but we'll be back with another topic, same time, same place.